Portugal is a very beautiful and peaceful country with a very stable economic and political situation.
A country with huge potential, huge opportunities. We have a very dedicated workforce, highly trained.
Portugal has a lot of good engineering schools all over the country, and the competition is quite low compared with other countries in Europe.
Portugal has a lot of very good universities. We have a lot of good people aiming for new technologies, new challenges, new products, and the breakthrough of industry.
We came here in Portugal because of the dynamic of the market. As I mentioned, we have hired 800 engineers in less than 3 years. It really shows how dynamic is the market, how entrepreneurial is the environment, and that was really important to build our IT center.
When we recruited lately all these engineers, we were capable of setting up a team of 15 nationalities, all recruited in Portugal. And obviously, the majority of them were Portuguese, but there were a lot of foreigners already living in Portugal due to the amazing quality of life that you have here in the country.
The other reason why we came here, it was because of the international mindset. We are covering operation on 38 countries. And it was important to have people who do have that international mindset, but also who do speak English and other foreign language. And we found that here in Portugal.
The Portuguese people are not only friendly, but they're great linguists. And that, in today's world, is very important, the ability to be able to communicate directly with visitors that are coming from all corners of the planet to discover the beautiful and safe country of Portugal.
We have the people, the know-how, and the willingness to learn.
There's a massive pool of talent for people that on the position that we want to fill. So this makes it basically a no-brainer of investing in Portugal at this moment. So if you're considering, for us the experience was great. So think about it. It might be a very good opportunity.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the Investing in Portugal, your next location webinar. First, let me introduce myself. My name is Carolina Lozinha, and I'm the Portuguese Trade and Investment Commissioner in Macau and Hong Kong. I'm also the Director of ICEP, the Portuguese Trade and Investment Agency, also to Macau and Hong Kong. ICEP is a government business entity focused in attracting and giving support to the foreign companies to invest in Portugal. And it's also our aim to contribute to the success of Portuguese companies abroad regarding their internationalization process or export activities. This webinar is organized by ICEP and the Portugal-Hong Kong Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Allow me to thank Mr. Bernardo Mendia, President of this Chamber of Commerce, for accepting the challenge of co-organizing this webinar. Thank you so much, Bernardo. I also would like to thank Mr. Ambassador Paulo Cunha Alves, who will honor us today with his presence, as well as all the other guest speakers for accepting our invitation. I want to thank all of you. At last, I would also like to thank this great audience. Today we are here to show you why you should consider Portugal as your next investment destination. And it's a great pleasure to see so many people interested in knowing more about investing in Portugal. Thank you so much for your presence. Now I'd like to introduce our guest speakers. Let me share the program on screen. First, the Consul General of Portugal in Macau and Hong Kong, Ambassador Paulo Cunha Alves, who will honor us with his opening remarks. And to talk about the Portuguese investment environment, we'll have the presence of the President of Portugal-Hong Kong Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Mr. Bernardo Mendia. Bernard will give us an overview of Portugal and Hong Kong relations. My colleague and investment counselor of the Embassy of Portugal in Beijing and the ICEP FDI manager, Ms. Patricia Conceição. As our investment specialist, Patricia will show us the investment environment in Portugal and what the advantages offered to investors are in the current economic context. And to close this panel, the Director of Tourism of Portugal in China, Macau and Hong Kong, Mr. Tiago Brito. Tourism is one of the economic sectors that most contribute to the economic growth of Portugal in the last few years. And Tiago will share the investment opportunities in this important sector with us. In our second panel, the speakers will share other perspectives of investing in Portugal. To talk about the Bison Bank experience in investing in our country, it's an honor to have the CEO of Bison Bank, Mr. Bien Feng, and also the executive board member, Mr. Francisco Oliveira. The Clube Lusitano is one of the oldest clubs in Hong Kong and remains today one of the pillars of the Portuguese community in Hong Kong. Today, we'll have the presence of President of the Clube Lusitano, Mr. Patrick Rosario, sharing with us the role of the Clube Lusitano to promote Portugal in Hong Kong and also the interest of some members of the club in investing in Portugal. And our last topic is one of the most expected parts of our webinar, to show us in detail how to set up a company in Portugal. We'll have the presence of Mr. Oscar Madureira, lawyer at Rattling, Lay and Cortes. Now let's start with the welcoming remarks, and I will give the floor to Mr. Ambassador, please. You need to turn off, Mr. Ambassador. Okay.
Thank you, Carolina. Good afternoon, everybody. As Consul General of Portugal in Macau and Hong Kong, it is a pleasure for me to be here addressing this webinar on investing in Portugal, your next location. Although these are challenging times, they are also times of opportunity and change. Over the past few years, Portugal has achieved significant international recognition as a successful investment destination and now appears on the radar of companies around the world. This success is based on several advantages that Portugal provides, such as a favorable business environment. According to the World Bank's Doing Business report, Portugal is the 34th country in the world with the best business regulatory frameworks to make doing business easier for entrepreneurs. It is an excellent location for industry and services. We have strategic access to markets. As a member of the European Union and the founding country of the euro currency, Portugal gives access to 500 million consumers in the European market, and it is an important bridge to the Portuguese-speaking countries, which represent 260 million consumers altogether. Portugal is also a network of modern infrastructure. According to the World Economic Forum, Portugal ranks 21st in quality of infrastructures among 141 world economies. Nowadays, Portugal is connected to all major capital cities in the world by air, sea, or rail. Located at the western corner of Europe, Portugal has the first Atlantic port that international maritime routes towards Europe reach. a deep water port connects to Central Europe by road and rail. Portugal is also known for being among those with some of the most advanced communication systems. In 2018, Portugal ranked 7th in fastest broadband speeds and the 8th in terms of lowest monthly price according to ITIF broadband rankings. Nowadays, our country has a strong pool of workforce with a high level of education in a wide range of fields, especially in business and administration, engineering and mathematics, with high motivation and adaptability. Portugal offers a highly qualified, motivated and competitive workforce. Portugal has made a great qualitative leap in both training and the quality of its workforce. About 78% of Portuguese students learn at least 2 foreign languages, and English levels are above EU average. The Portuguese universities hold prominent positions in the main world rankings. This fact has been attracting students from all over the world to our country. We have several attractive incentives to investors, including the well-known Golden Visa program. The Portuguese Golden Residence Permit program continues to prove itself as a growing success. From the beginning of this year until July, this Consulate General has reported more than 1,500 requests for criminal records required to apply for the Golden Visa. Furthermore, Portugal is not only a good country to invest, but also a most desirable place to live. Politically stable, sunny, with unique nature, wine culture and gastronomy, and with high-quality healthcare facilities. Moreover, Portugal is the country with best quality of life for expatriates in the world. Portugal was the first European country to receive the Safe Travel Seal, which recognizes a commitment to safety. The distinction awarded by the World Travel and Tourism Council certifies destinations that comply with hygiene and safety rules and aims to give confidence to those who travel after restrictions to avoid the spread of COVID-19. These factors have contributed to a steady flow of new investment in manufacturing, in tourism, commerce and services, as evidenced by the significant number of companies who have chosen to invest in Portugal recently. Last year, Portugal once again managed to surpass the target of 1 billion euros in contracted investments. This involved 80 new projects, 75% of which were of foreign origin, more precisely from 15 different nationalities. 12 intents of foreign investors have materialized since the beginning of 2020, of which 9 projects were decided after the COVID-19 outbreak. Investments are coming mainly from Germany, Switzerland, the United States, and from Canada, Brazil, Denmark, and our neighbor Spain. The new projects aim at creating more than 1,100 jobs in Portugal. The Consulate General of Portugal in Macau and Hong Kong, in close cooperation with the Macau office of the Portuguese Trade and Investment Agency, is readily available to support the work of potential investors from the 2 special administrative regions of China in Portugal. Thank you very much for your attention. I hope you enjoyed this webinar.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ambassador, for the welcoming remarks. Our next speaker is Mr. Bernardo Mendia. Please, Bernardo, you can start.
Thank you very much. And first of all, thank you to ICEP, Portugal Trade and Investment Agency, for inviting Portugal-Hong Kong Chamber of Commerce and Industry to co-organize this webinar with you. We are deeply honored for the opportunity. We also would like to dedicate a special word to Ambassador Paulo Cunha Alves. We attach great importance to the soft power that only diplomats can lend to economic development and international cooperation. Your proactiveness and collaboration are particularly important to establish effective bridges between the business communities of the two regions, and your presence at this seminar shows that we can count with you, Mr. Ambassador. Thank you. Now, having said this, I would like to introduce the Chamber, of course. PHK-CCI is a private, non-profit organization established to serve and impact the Portugal and Hong Kong business community in order to grow and expand business relations between the two regions. I won't go into many details, but you may check at www.phkcci.com. Regarding the Portugal-Hong Kong relations topic, actually, I'm sorry that this is moving faster than I thought, and I can't move back. Wait a moment. Oh, it's here. Okay. Regarding the Portugal-Hong Kong relations topic, I have only 2 slides to show you, and I hope later you can receive this PPT in order to analyze with more detail whatever you think it's more appropriate for you. But so, our relations date back to 1513, but fast forwarding to 2020, Portugal as the General Consulate of Macau and Hong Kong, commanded by Mr. Paulo Cunha Alves, and the Honorary Consulate of Portugal in Hong Kong, under the leadership of Mr. Ambrose So. As you know, at the foreign relations level, Hong Kong is represented in Portugal by the Chinese embassy, currently with Ambassador Mr. Sairun. At the economic level, Portugal is represented in Hong Kong by Ms. Carolina Lousinha, and Hong Kong is represented in Portugal at the economic level by Ms. Paula Khan from Invest Hong Kong. Now, regarding the, and within the context of COVID-19 and the respective relief package, which was announced by the European Union recently, Portugal has been awarded with a massive 58 billion euros for the period 2021 and 2030, of which more than 15 billion euros are non-refundable. As such, Portugal will manage funds at an average of 6 billion euros per year, when historically the average has been 2.5 billion per year. So you may have an idea of the amount that is at stake here. But moreover, this is above all, it's a very clear sign of the strength and stability of the European Union project. And also the revelation of a fantastic opportunity for savvy businesses to invest in Portugal. On the other hand, Portugal has early on reopened the country for business. This is quite different from the attitude of some Asian economies, but in Europe we have been adopted a new normal, I would say. And so we will live with we have decided to live with the virus and not to close as much as the Asian economies. So, in this sense, Portugal is actively looking for productive investments that serve the best interest of the country and its future generations. In other words, the funds received from the European Union should not only serve as an immediate economic stimulus, but also to lay the foundations that shall enable the country to generate sustainable wealth and social cohesion beyond 2030. This should be acquired, namely through 10 broad main pillars, which are listed in this PPT in the last two slides you saw. I also take this opportunity to list a number of potential specific opportunities that may arise from the 58 billion euros and pillars listed above. Once again, I will not bother you by reading this, but I do encourage you to speak directly with Ms. Carolina Louzinho and Ms. Patricia Conceição and Mr. Tiago Brito, should you be interested specifically in tourism projects, and should you be interested in any of the opportunities and investing in Portugal. Thank you very much. Carolina, you have no sound.
I'm so sorry. Thank you, Bernardo, for sharing your presentation. Ms. Patricia Conceição, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Carolina. Good afternoon. Hello from Beijing. We are all from different places today. A special greeting to Mr. Ambassador, who has been giving a huge support to this event, and also to the Chamber. It's been great to cooperate with you, and all the other speakers, of course. But I'm especially happy to see that we have so many people interested in Portugal and want to learn more about opportunities in the country and are here today with us attending this webinar. So I will talk about, give you an overall perspective of the investment environment in Portugal. I have a very brief presentation. So let's start. Okay, so let's look first at the foreign direct investment in Portugal and what is this about? Sorry, just want to get to the right slide here. Okay, so I will start. As we see here at this slide, according to the Bank of Portugal, the stock of foreign investment in Portugal was nearly 144 billion euro by the end of last year. This is the highest value since 2008, and this is also 68%, roughly 68% of GDP. I think this shows how important foreign direct investment is for the Portuguese economy and also the country's ability to attract projects of foreign corporations. There are, of course, some well-known programs such as the Golden Visa, like our ambassador just mentioned a while ago. So this program attracts investment mostly to real estate assets, but we must understand that the investment into real estate is only 15% of the FDI stock in Portugal. So the country has also seen several large transactions and M&As in multiple industries. Portugal has also a long track on greenfield projects from multinationals that have established in our country. So the country, Portugal, has risen in the past decades as a competitive location for a production base for them, for the companies to have a production base for the European market and also other markets. So besides attracting several new factories every year, investments in new business centers and knowledge centers have actually been growing at a faster pace. More recently, I would say that the world pandemic had a tremendous impact on several sectors and companies of all sectors, actually. And so we have been seeing a lot of changes in terms of corporate strategies, of investment plans, operations, supply chains, and so on. So the foreign investment is expected to decrease this year around the world, while corporations keep their projects on hold and decide on the new directions on how to minimize their operational risk. So I think I would highlight today 4 great trends that we are seeing. For instance, one of those is that companies understand that they need to be closer to their target markets and to their customers. Second, companies need to diversify their suppliers across different regions. Also, customers now are more demanding in terms of environment sustainability of the products and services, of social responsibility of companies. And also there's another trend, which is companies understand that the best way to accelerate innovation is by establishing valuable partnerships. So looking at these 4 great trends, I think that Portugal renews, and we believe that even strengthens the capability, the country's ability to contribute to multinationals' growth and to attract new projects. We have seen that confidence in Portugal has been maintained in the past months, and dozens of companies continue to contact our agency, ICEP, and they are looking at the country as a possible location for their new projects. So now let's have a look into the main advantages of having operations in Portugal, given these 4 new trends, and what kind of projects are choosing a location in Portugal against locations in other countries. So from a risk perspective, I'd say that it's relevant, and our ambassador also mentioned that Portugal is a safe country. It's one of the safest in the world. Among EU countries, Portugal ranks 2nd in the Security Threats Index. So this is the slide. I think you are going to see it now. So here we show some the position of Portugal in some world ranks regarding risk in terms of safety, political and social stability, healthcare, and infrastructure. And of course, the fact that the country offers political stability, social stability, this is very important for operations, and it's really an important factor for multinationals. And then regarding proximity to customers, also mentioned before that Portugal is a member of the Eurozone market, and also has strong links with the Portuguese-speaking countries. So this means that when you have a base in Portugal, you can reach over 750 million consumers. This is an opportunity that has been identified by foreign companies already in many different industries. And so we have multinationals from the automotive industry, aerospace, consumer products, business services, or financial businesses. They all have some operations in the country. And actually, our major international investors are some of the largest exporting companies of Portugal. Some actually export nearly 100% of output because Portugal offers excellent transportation and communication infrastructure. We can actually extend our domestic market to the EU market overall. And second, we also, Portugal is a very diversified and export-oriented economy with highly competitive suppliers in many different industries. For instance, I'll give you the example of the automotive industry. Maybe you know that 98% of the cars of all world brands that are circulating in Europe, so all brands, have at least one car part made in Portugal. This means that our companies are competitive worldwide. Actually, companies selling overseas grew by 31% in 10 years between 2008 and 2018. Last year, exports of goods and services were worth 44% of GDP, and it was 29% in 2009. So you have this happened across many different industries, manufacturing, but also services. For instance, between 2010 and 2019, exports of information and communication services grew by 150%. And also in this sector, ITC, many foreign companies decided to establish their software development operations, their business services in Portugal. But of course, when you look into these new kind of projects, less manufacturing and more talent-based, knowledge-based, the critical factor here, when you compare Portugal with other countries, is the talent. I'm having here some problems with the... So this kind of projects, of course, require advanced skills, higher qualifications. So talent is more and more a critical factor when companies decide on their locations. And the companies they need, and they find in Portugal a wide pool of highly qualified professionals with a global mindset. Also, Portuguese professionals, they are fluent in foreign languages. They have a global mindset. They are educated in world-class schools. So this makes a difference at the company's operations, at the production line, or at the services. Portugal also has the second highest rate of engineering students, as you can see here. So roughly 21% of higher education students are enrolled in engineering programs. And also because we have a good education system, healthcare services, we have good quality of life, and also efficient flight connections, Portugal has been attracting more and more expats. So we have a growing community of expats. So adding to this talent pool, multinationals also find world-class R&D institutions to partner with. And innovation is also a strong asset in the country. And I think this map here helps us understanding where Portugal is located in terms of innovation. So if we look here to the European Innovation Scoreboard this year, Portuguese companies place our country in the 12th place and in the group of strong innovators of the EU. So also during the pandemic was a very good, we had a lot of opportunities to see how companies, universities, and engineers prove they are available to help others, but also to how strong they are in terms of innovation capabilities. For instance, we have OECD's Innovative Response Tracker that looks into 37 countries, and Portugal was #1 country. So it was the country that produced the highest amount on innovative projects to solve problems related to the pandemic. And we also made some important breakthroughs. More recently this week on the news is the world's first reusable face mask that inactivates the virus within 1 hour. So this is a pioneer technology, and the mask has been developed and manufactured in Portugal. And then regarding sustainability matters, Portugal also stands as a green country. When you look at European countries, Portugal is among the leaders when you consider the forest area, the power production from renewable sources, air quality, and low emissions of greenhouse gases. Here you can see in the slide, I hope you are seeing it, the slide Green Country. 56% of the power production was generated from renewable sources. Also in this field, our companies and universities have invested in the development of new technology, in environmental protection and renewable energy. We have here a very good example of a project that is pioneer in the world, WindFloat. This is the world's largest offshore floating wind turbine that has been connected to the grid in Portugal recently. And this project also has a Chinese partner, Hangtong Group, which supplies and has installed the submarine cables. So this is an example of great cooperation with a Chinese company. And then we were also the first country in the world to have an integrated nationwide network to charge electric vehicles. This is one single system across the country, and it has operating since 2010. And then, of course, the support of the Portuguese authorities. Portuguese government has continuously defended that Portugal is an open and globalized economy. Foreign investment is always very welcome and receives support from local entities. For instance, our agency, ICEP, we are the government's agency to promote trade and investment. And we have a long experience in assisting foreign companies during the implementation of their projects in the country. We offer a free charge service, yet excellent customized service to investors. We are one of the best in Western Europe, providing this kind of support to investors. And we so provide a unique kind of service during the process of selecting a location. We can look here at the case of the Chinese company COFCO International. They have analyzed 23 different locations around the world for a shared service center. And through this process of comparing locations, ICEP has provided data and relevant information about many important issues such as human resources, infrastructure, other local resources they needed. ICEP also identified suitable locations according to their project needs. We have assisted the company in making contacts with local partners and so on. So finally, COFCO, this was before the decision, and then finally COFCO decided, they understood that Portugal offered the best conditions to develop this new project, and they decided to open the center there. So ICEP is also, so we are in charge of welcoming foreign investors, and we also are in charge of managing investment incentives available to projects of large corporations. So if a company established in Portugal wishes to apply for government incentives for a project, the application goes usually through ICEP. And then, of course, we regularly organize, every week we have visits from for investors that are analyzing locations in Portugal. And so I also hope that we will have your visit to our country soon. At the moment, of course, travel is not so easy. So we offer investors the chance of having virtual visits, setting up online meetings with relevant partners in Portugal. And this kind of service has been quite successful in the past months. Some investments were decided after virtual visits and even before the investor stepped in the country. So for investors that are already able to travel to Portugal, we also are making our best efforts to make these visits as safer as possible. We are following a set of safety and health guidelines, looking after everyone's protection. And so I think we are a very safe destination. We are a stable location, and we really look forward to have you in Portugal to discuss investment opportunities. So after this webinar, because we don't have Q&A, if you have any question or you need our support, also if you want to tell us about your project in pipeline, please feel free to reach out to us. You can contact me writing to this email that you see on the screen, or you can contact ICEP in our Consulate General in Macau, who is organizing this webinar. But ICEP is also present in other diplomatic representations of Portugal in China, Beijing, Shanghai, and Guangzhou. So please contact any of our offices and we will be very willing to help you. So thank you for your attention and see you soon in Portugal. Thank you. Carolina.
Thank you so much, Patricia, for your presentation. Now we'll have the Mr. Tiago's brief presentation. Tiago, please.
Hello. His Excellency, the Portuguese Consul General of Macau and Hong Kong, the Portuguese Trade and Investment Agency, and Portugal and the Portuguese and Hong Kong Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Thank you for inviting the Portuguese National Tourism Authority to take part in this very interesting webinar. I will go through my presentation. So firstly, I will address who is the Portuguese National Tourism Authority, also go through some facts and figures regarding the tourism activity in Portugal. And finally, we will go through some investment opportunities, namely the Revive program and also the Revive Natura. These are two examples of investment programs within the tourism industry, which comprise different profiles of asset portfolios and also different ranges in terms of equity requirements. About the Portuguese, sorry, are you hearing me?
Yes.
Okay. About the Portuguese Tourism National Authority, we are part of the Ministry of Economy and Digital Transition. Our mission is to promote value and assure sustainability of tourism activity in Portugal. Naturally, we have national jurisdiction and also a privileged interconnection with other public institutions and also economic agents, whether in Portugal or in other countries. Another of our missions is precisely to consolidate tourism as one of the pillars of economy, the Portuguese economy. And naturally also, which brings us to today's webinar, to attract foreign investment in tourism industry. Portugal has been acclaimed every year with extraordinary praise from the international community, and we've been distinguished with many awards throughout time. These are but three examples of this. Portugal has been the world's leading destination for the past 3 years, and this award was provided by, given by the World Travel Awards. Also, best leading city break destination for Lisbon, and world's leading island destination for the 4th year in a row for Madeira Island. As Patricia mentioned before, Portugal is also one of the safest and most peaceful places on earth, according to the Global Peace Index. We occupy the 3rd place. And as His Excellency, the Portuguese Consul General also mentioned, during this pandemic crisis, we were distinguished by the World Travel and Tourism Council with the Safe Seals Travel, which also honored us very much. About facts and figures, Portugal in 2018 counted with 66 million overnight stays, and this figure actually increased in 2019 to 69.8 overnight stays. And out of this total, 46.4 million were foreign guests. And regarding the distribution of these guests per region, you can also see that we have a fair distribution among the 7 Portuguese regions.
Tiago, just a moment. Will you share your presentation with...
Oh, no? Sorry.
Not yet. Sorry. Okay, thank you.
Okay. So, and these are the figures. Most of the foreign guests come from Europe, from high-income countries such as the UK, Germany, France, and Spain, among others. Regarding the investment opportunities in Portugal, I'm going to talk about two investment programs. The first one is called Revive. And this is an initiative, a joint initiative between the Portuguese Ministries of Culture, Economy and Finances, which basically open state-owned properties to private investment. And we are talking about mostly very, very, very high value properties in premium locations, which are open on public tenders to private investors. The goals of this program are precisely to bring tourism demands to new touristic regions, also to aim to the recovery and enhancement of public heritage, which probably was not being at use at that time, also to generate investments and create jobs within the industry, and naturally, as one of the pillars of our activity, also to promote sustainability. Information to investors about the opportunity, the joint opportunity that we propose. Basically, we have a specific credit line that investors may take the advantage of. They can deal directly with the Portuguese Tourism National Board, with tourism funds who are engaged in promoting actively and helping investors with these investments. This is very important because it is basically a one-stop shop, so you don't need to lose time to make inventories of architectural or topographical inventories of the properties, or check the settlement of legal and the legal status and the registration of the properties. So you can deal with one entity who will guide you, who will help you throughout the program and throughout the investment. And also, I won't go through thoroughly the conditions of this specific credit line. I will share the presentation after the webinar, and you can find the information directly on this website that I share in this slide. About the types of properties that you may find, there have been 2 editions of properties being made available within the Revive program. You are looking at very, very different types of profiles of assets, from castles to monasteries, from convents to forts, from military quarters to palaces. So we are looking at very, very, very different types of profiles of assets, state-owned assets. The second stage of this second edition of this program comprised also a lot of properties of real estates in the interior of the country, and in the interior of the country there are also some extra premium bonifications to investors depending on the projects themselves. So until now, under this program, there have been 21 public tenders launched. I remind you that you can see the open tenders directly on the Revive official websites. 16 concessions have been granted, a lot of contracts signed, and inclusively 2 hotels that are already operating, so they are open to business, and they were the first two ones within this initiative that were launched to public, and they have been extraordinarily successful in this regard. Just to also show you some images, some pictures about the types of properties that we are looking at, and yet to come opportunities. And just to show you three examples. This one is a palace in Oporto, in the north of Portugal, right in the center of the city, close to one of the most famous landmarks in Oporto, the House of Music. And basically it is a palace, and the concession period can go up to 50 years. And you can consider installing an hotel establishment or a local accommodation, or a company within the tourism industry. Also, some other opportunities. With the COVID pandemic, there were some programs that were open to tender that have been removed. So we need also to check the status of the tenders as well, when they will reopen or be revised. So in this case, it is an extraordinary building in Rua da Prata, right in the heart of Lisbon, where the city embraces the Tagus River, also with a concession period of 50 years and a number of rooms estimate of around 30. Another one, and the final one, an old fort located south of Lisbon, 40 to 50 kilometers south of Lisbon, which has a breathtaking view, as you can see. It is an old fort which is abandoned, has a lot of beautiful touristic locations nearby, and also very beautiful beaches, as you can see from the picture. And it is also open to a concession period of 50 years. Now, the second investment program I would like to address, and very quickly, this is a very brand new investment program. The types of real estates are considerably different than the ones that we have just seen. So most of them are much smaller. The state or the condition of the properties are either in medium to bad or even in ruined states. But this is a brand new investment program, and I would say one of the biggest advantages of these assets is their premium location, as you will see from a couple of examples. This investment program was launched last week. There are 16 properties out of a batch of more than 90. So the first tender was launched last week. And the proposals for these investment opportunities can be made before the 19th of October. And I will also share at the end the official website where you can get much more information about this program. This fund is similar in terms of the profile. So it was also a real estate that was public, state heritage, also with very interesting backgrounds. Most of them are either former tax houses or forestry guard houses, among others. So the advantage is that most of these locations will be in territories where it is not possible to make other construction, so in protected sites. Again, one of the aims from our side is to assure that within these investments, there is naturally some local job creation, the boosting of local economies, to contribute to the strengthening of the local supply networks, and also to enable local sites to have high quality touristic attractions. This fund was carried out through the integration as assets of rights of these properties, and there are some specific conditions for the investors. I won't go through them because you'll have access to it, but this is just another example of a property in a very premium location, in this case also in the north of Portugal, at, I would say, an exclusive location that you wouldn't be able to find very easily, at least. So if you would like to know more, I leave you the official websites of the Revive program and of the Revive Natura. Please feel free to write either directly to our financial and investment technicians or to our local team in China. And I will be available for you at any time. And thank you for your time, and thank you again, Carolina.
Thank you so much, Tiago, for sharing this information with us. Now we will start our second panel with the Bison Bank experience in investing in Portugal. Please, Mr. Bienfeng, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. Dear Mr. Consul General of the Portugal in Macau and Hong Kong, Mr. Ambassador, dear Mr. Bernardo, President of Portugal-Hong Kong Chamber of Commerce and Industry, fellow speakers, dear colleagues in the digital room and those who are virtually connected, welcome to webinar organized by the ISAP, Portugal Global, and by PHCCI, with the underlying subject of investing in Portugal, your next location. A theme that all of us operate a business in Portugal or those have business relations with the country should be think about. So in order to be well prepared after this pandemic. Despite of the European Commission's 45.1 billion euro recovery funding for Portugal and the recently elaborated strategic version for the 2020 to 2030 economic recovery plan for Portugal, the national and international investors look for long-term attractive pillars such as safety, availability and the talent of workforce, access to other markets, regulatory framework stability, and policies that stimulate foreign investment. The stock of FDI influence to Portugal have been steadily close to 60% of GDP, and that figure is on the highest positive experiences of the international investors. This rate is one of the highest rates in Europe, well above that EU countries, such as France, 34%, and Germany, 26%. Portugal is a country that is mostly depend on foreign demand to stimulate the economy. And the investors know that. Although they perceive Portugal is the country that has made profound improvements on its emerging sectors and the traditional sectors of Portuguese economy, namely the smart cities, information, communication, and electronics technologies, textile, footwear, and the tourism. The culture, geographic, and the geopolitical situation of the country build appealing drivers for foreign direct investor to consider Portugal as a potential international hub. International players already understand the hub value of the country and the efforts is able to do to reach the next step. Well, Bison Bank, as an investment bank focused on wealth management, depository and custody and investment banking services, perceives that the investors look to performance of the remaining companies on the sectors, which means that effective leadership is as important as other social or political factors to the generation of FDI. If Portuguese companies in all sectors demonstrate positive results over time, that will create better benchmarks for economy, more employment, more investment, and for sure, to influence the decision-making of international investors. Well, I just passed the word to my colleague, board member Francisco, who will further analyze the experiences of investing in Portugal according to the perspectives of the bank's national and international investors. And it's my honor to join this and to be able to present my perspective to you all. Thank you very much. Thanks, Francisco.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bian. Good morning, everyone. Good morning or good afternoon, depending on the zone that you are, the geographical zone. Thank you very much, Mr. Ambassador. Thank you very much, Maria Carolina Luzinha. Thank you very much, Patricia Conceição. And thank you very much, Bernardo Mendia from the Portuguese and Hong Kong Chamber of Commerce. It's my huge pleasure to be here today. I will share with you the presentation that I've prepared for this webinar. I hope that you are all seeing it. Okay. So the aim of today is to show to you the most important, well, let me see if I can put it bigger. Yeah, great. So this is the main topics I'm going to address today on this webinar. And thank you very much for all the participants that are viewing here this webinar. I think it's a very important way to, during this pandemic situation, to share and to continue to do business and promote the good relationships between Asia and Europe. So we are going to these 8 topics during the presentation of Bank. The first one, I just want to jump into the experience of investing in Portugal. Of course, Mrs. Patricia Conceição already gave some numbers here. I'm going to be very, very selective on the numbers and the figures that I'm going to share with you. I think the 2 main words that we have been assisting on this webinar is the words hub and gateway. So this clearly shows the importance of Portugal to be the gateway for the Portuguese-speaking countries market, as you can see, with a population of 281 million. But most important of all is the capability to reach around 2,200 billion dollars of GDP in terms of market. Also, being in Portugal and investing in Portugal as the hub or the gateway, it's an opportunity to reach more than around 600 million population in the European Union. And also have the opportunity to have available a GDP of 800,700 million dollars in terms of business to reach or in terms of wealth to manage. So clearly, Portugal is a unique country that has the capability to be the key shipping interception for Europe, America, and Asia, as we all know. We are faced towards the sea. And also the fact that in terms of cultural and geographic and geopolitical situation, the country has and raises a huge opportunity for foreign direct investors, as it was already mentioned here by Mrs. Patricia Conceição. That's why Portugal is considered one of the best countries to the gateway and the most important hub and valuable country for international players. So here I'm just going to go through very slightly because it was mentioned several figures, but the most important thing is, as you can see here on this presentation, is that in terms of FDI inflows, Portugal is close to 60% of GDP, which is much higher than when compared to Germany or France. Also, Portugal is very relevant in terms of the Silk Road path to the European countries, but also due to the great relationships between Portugal and the Portuguese-speaking countries is also an open door for the Asian investors to reach Africa and Latin American countries, as you may well know. Also, I want to highlight the very important characteristics of the country, which was the main ones that take our Chinese shareholder to invest in Portugal, as you well know. And I'll go through this information in the next slides. But as you well know, Bison Bank is 100% owned by private Chinese capital, and this was an operation that it was very well succeeded because of these main factors that I present here on this slide: security, stability, trust and reputation, and appealing rate of return. Security is one of the most important things for investors. One of the remarks is, as we all know, on the banking sector and the banking regulation being stable, but also there's a protection of the funds deposit until the maximum of 100K of euros. But nevertheless, this is a very important important regulation that, and the banking regulation itself gives security for investing in Portugal. In terms of stability, this is also a very important keynote because, as you well know, the financial system we have a lot of rules, it's true, but they are very stable. And the frameworks of these rules are stable frameworks that give confidence for foreign investors to apply for Portugal. Trust and reputation here. We are well aware of the Portugal as one of the best countries, not only to live but also to invest, and also to be as I mentioned, the gateway and the hub for Europe and for the Portuguese-speaking countries. And clearly, the trust and reputation of Portugal helped to decide on making the bridge, where to make the bridge between Asia and Europe. As a way of investment. And that's why also Bison Bank and Bison Group decided to invest in Portugal through an acquisition of a full banking license. Of course, we are talking about the bank, and it's also important to analyze the figures in terms of financials. The figures in terms of investment were appealing, and I think it's not only appealing for the banking sector, but it's appealing for anyone that wants to invest in Portugal. And use Portugal as the hub for a wider investment and have the opportunity to have a bigger return. So jumping into the second part of the presentation, I think it's important to explain who we are. Bison Bank is a bank that in 2018 bought the license of BBI, Banif Banco de Investimento, after the 2015 resolution. It's a full banking license, a clean balance sheet. Our main goal is to, as mentioned by Mr. Bien, is to invest and support investors on the wealth management side, depository and custody services, and investment banking. This will be very important for all the international clients that we envisage. Our main goal is to clearly do the bridge between Asia and Europe, and that's why we selected Portugal as the main hub for that. Our shareholder is, as I mentioned in the beginning of this presentation, our shareholder is a 100% private Chinese investor. Our structure is totally based in Hong Kong. We have above Bison Bank, we have a structure of Bison, which is Bison Capital Financial, which is an SPV that was used to buy the bank, where we have all the board is a Chinese board, which is help us to do the link between the Europe and Asia, as I mentioned. And then above that, we have an holding, and above the holding, we have the private family that has the 100% of the capital. We also have, but the holding company in Hong Kong also has a foot in Africa, in Mozambique, through the participation of a Mozambican bank called Banco Mais. These are the members of the board, 4 executive members and 2 non-executive members. two faces you already know, myself and Mr. Ben. Then we have the COO, which is Antonio Henriques, and also have Mr. André Rendeiro as the CRO. As non-executives, and you can see here, we have also the chairwoman, which is Mrs. Lily Young, and Mr. Everett Rocks as the vice chairman. As you can see, this is also a demonstration that although we are in Portugal, we have a very diversified, multicultural, geographical diversification of the members of the board, which help us to do this bridge and also to be use Bison Bank as the gateway to Europe and also to Asia, because our aim in terms of bridge is to do two ways bridge, not only one way, which is Asia to Portugal, but also Portugal, Europe to Asia in terms of opportunities and open for investments. Going straight to the business areas of the bank, the first one is the client management / private banking area, where we have a team of more than 30 years of expertise to provide financial solutions, manage wealth, follow up clients in terms of opportunities, financial expertise in terms of worldwide markets, all the relationships, of course, because we are talking about the banking sector and the investment banking sector, are based on transparency and trust. And of course, the last point, which is the most important ones, is our Asian expertise. Although we are a bank based here in Portugal, we have a multicultural team. We have around 20% of the team is Chinese people. Our main language inside the bank is English and Mandarin, so of course Portuguese. But here what is important to show is that in terms of client management, we have an holistic view and a long-term strategy to support and help anyone that wants to go through Europe by using the Portuguese hub. On the wealth management side, this is clearly a service that is focused on managing, advising, working with the potential clients and with the clients and potential investors. We have services of we have teams expert on product specialists. Sorry, on selecting products for clients. We have discretionary portfolio mandates, investment advisory. We do execution of all the orders and the needs of execute any type of transactions. Very important also to highlight, and there's some words that were mentioned here about Goldenview. Bison Bank is also a bank that is has a lot of expertise on working for Goldenview assessment and applications. We have a different type of vehicles for subscription of the Goldenview. We have interactions with law firms. So we are a one-stop shop in terms of Goldenview. So this is also very important to highlight in terms of wealth management and client management, of course. The other part that the bank has in terms of expertise is depository and custody bank services. So Bison Bank is a bank that has a lot of expertise working with institutional and private clients. We provide this type of services for any fund based around the world. Bison Bank, it's clearly here also a gateway for this type of service. Going on deep on depository and custody service, just to let you know that we have three main capabilities. We are experienced, we have innovation, and we are also agile. So more than 15 years of experience of deposit bank services, working for asset management companies, multi-asset funds. We have today more than 900 million of assets under management regarding depository bank services. We were the first bank to have a carbon fund and a hard fund, alternative energy fund. We were also the first one to have a fixed capital real estate investment company, CCAFI, and we have one of the biggest depository bank services for the passive management funds for more than 3,500 participants. We are very agile. We have tailor-made solutions for the clients and for the asset management companies. And this is one of the key, and we are very competitive in terms of fees. But most important here is the service that we provide to the asset managers and to institutional clients. Jumping to the investment banking services. So here we cannot have an investment bank without investment banking services. This is also one of the key areas of the bank. Bison Bank provides investment advisory for any type of equity and debt capital markets needs. We do financial advisory for any type of transactions that are required and they need the advice for expertise team. We do also valuations, and also we help companies to optimize balance sheets structures. So this is just an example for you to have an idea. During the last 12 months, Bison Bank participated on more than 6 deals with a total AUMs that were issued around $6.3 billion in terms of issuance of debt of companies based in Hong Kong. As you can see here, some of the names you may know, which is China Warong, China Warren, Dongxing Securities, and also a real estate company called Vanka. So Bison Bank participated as a joint lead manager and joint book runner for this bond from this debt issuance. And we have made here clearly the bridge between the interest of issuing debt from Hong Kong, from Asia, and placed the debt in Europe. Of course, we have not placed all the amount, but a very significant amount of the placement was done in Europe through Bison Bank. Finally, these are also some important valuations and advisory that we have done. But clearly, what I just want to mention is that Bison Bank is decided, and Bison Group decided to invest in Europe, in Portugal, and looking at also at Europe and the Portuguese-speaking countries, because clearly Portugal presents a huge opportunity to reach such a great market as Europe, and also to do the bridge to Asia, which is an even bigger market. But I think that through Portugal, we can combine both interests of the investors and of the clients. Thank you very much for this opportunity again. Thank you very much for the participants, and thank you very much for my colleagues of the panel. So my presentation is just finished. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Francisco.
Thank you so much, Mr. Bienfang and Mr. Francisco Oliveira. Mr. Patrick Rosario, please, you can start your presentation.
Okay, let's make sure that all of you could hear me.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, so good afternoon, ambassadors, fellows, speakers and participants of the webinars. Good afternoon, and I am Patrick Rosario, the president of Club Lusitano. I think you could see the photos of the of Club Lusitano. Can you see the photos of Club Lusitano?
We can see one picture, the tower.
Okay, yes, very, very good actually. This is Club Lusitano in Hong Kong. So if you know Hong Kong well, this is in the central business districts. It's in Isle Street. I'm Patrick Rosario, the president of Club Lusitano. A short background of the club. Club Lusitano was founded in Hong Kong over 153 years ago in 1866 as a private members clubs for the Portuguese community. And to these days, we retain our unique Luso-cultural identity through its memberships, language, and of course, their food and wines. And I can say that we have the largest collections of wines and spirits, of Portuguese wine and spirits in Asia. Memberships remains open to person with Portuguese lineage and our nationals. Many of our members who have families living in this part of the world, Macau and Hong Kong, for many generations, some 7 and 8 generations. And some of our present members are descendants of the founding members of the clubs in the 1800s. At the same time, we also have many first-generation families and young expats members from Portugal, Macau, Brazil, India, France, Germany, and the UK. Over time, our members established extensive family lanes with many places in the world, in particular with the English-speaking country. Yet, many members remain strong linked with Portugal, with families living in Portugal. And from an investment perspective, many have holiday homes in Portugal. Some of our members' family office operate property funds with investment in Portugal and invest in other business like the hospitality sectors. Even though there are amples of opportunity in investing in residential and commercial property in Portugal, nevertheless, there are plenty of other investment possibility. Portugal has a vibrant economy, from the more traditional sectors of agricultural and fisheries, hospitalities and tourism, to very large multinational company in the paper, wood and cork sectors, in cements, in renewable energy. There are also many good companies in retail, consumer products, technology, technological services, civil engineering, constructions. I'd like to cover the stock exchange too. The major stock exchange in Portugal is the Euronext Lisbon. It trades equities, public and private bonds, and ETF. There are derivatives products such as stock index futures and options of the Portuguese stocks index 20. Many of Portugal's successful and multinational companies are listed in Euronext Lisbon. Of course, for football fans, you could also invest through the stock exchange in your favorite football clubs like Benfica, Sportings, and FC Portos. Hong Kong, I guess, as an open financial centers with efficient banking, funds, corporate finance, and corporate services, it would be the best place and the easiest place in this part of the world is to work with Portugal, Macau, and investors in Hong Kong and China and other Asian countries to invest into Portugal. I think I'll stop now and pass it to my friend Oscar, who will talk to you about setting up company in Portugal. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Patrick. And our last guest speaker, Mr. Oscar Madureira, please. The floor is yours.
Good morning or good afternoon, everyone. First of all, thank you so much for His Excellency Ambassador Paulo Cunha Alves. We are a Macau. Our head office is in Macau, so I always feel proud seeing Macau leading these kind of organizations. Also, thank you very much to ICEP, particularly to Carolina Lozinha and Patricia Conceição, and also to Portugal-Hong Kong Chamber of Commerce and the industry of Bernardo Mendia for setting up and for inviting us to participate in this conference. I'm the last one, so I'm trying to be short and to be very specific because your ladies and gentlemen are already probably tired of participating on this. Just a quick note on something that we've been focusing and the fellow participants has been focusing. We selected a few words to characterize the country, and I would like to say that besides what it's been said up to now, I would like to say that we are in Portugal. We have great adaptability to circumstances. This COVID-19 crisis and pandemic that it's been all over the world has showed us that a country, for instance, that could not produce ventilators, we start produce ventilators in a scale that is completely capable to supply the country in less than 3 weeks, in less than 3 months. We also developed this kind of mass and technology that Patricia Conceição mentioned in her presentation, which actually I think it was really a very good presentation. So we may not be top of class planning long term. We are not the best strategic minds, may not be the best strategic minds in the world, but we have a very good capacity, and I would say overwhelming capacity to overtake hurdles in our path. As a country, we know how to adapt, and we know to overtake hurdles in order to be adapted to circumstances. Another note is someone mentioned and asked for a few numbers, a few figures on Goldenview's investment this year. I got these figures with me, so not the full semester, but from January to May, 592 Golden Visa has been issued, and the total investment capital since the plan was enacted in 2012 has been approximately 5.2 billion. So in approximately 8 years of life of this program. Passing to and going through my presentation, I think you are all looking to it already. So let me just make this full screen. Sorry. Okay, so starting for the overview, because I think it's important for you to have this idea. We are the first idea to catch up is that we are a country that is, sorry, this is a bit slow because I already changed slide in my computer. It seems to be. The first idea is that we are a country with a mindset open to business and to the incorporation of companies, and we have no restrictions to foreign investment. If, for instance, we compare with other countries like in the West, Brazil, or in the East, Thailand, where there are some restrictions to foreign investors. In Portugal, there are no such restrictions. We don't discriminate, let's say, between local or national or foreign capital. There is no requirement for establishing and setting up companies for Portuguese shareholding. There are no limitations on the repatriations of profits or dividends. There are no restrictions on regulation applicable to foreign investment, and they are basically similar to what happens in domestic for domestic investors. Also, non-resident shareholders, what they need to have in mind is that they need to apply for a Portuguese tax number in order to be shareholders and to participate in the shareholding structures of Portuguese companies. Also, if these foreign investments are not European Union residents, they must appoint a Portuguese tax representative in order to be eligible to be shareholder or director or investor of a Portuguese company. So, in terms of investment structures, what is needed or what is possible? Of course, individuals by themselves are capable to invest personally as personal investors. Let me just change please, because I have some issues with mine. Sorry. Sorry, I had some problems with the network. It's not. Someone is telling me that it's not good. Sorry. In terms of investment, so individuals are able to invest by themselves under their own individual name. the incorporation, for this, it's not required to incorporate a separate legal entity. A person can invest under its own name. Of course, there's a consequence for this. So there will be unlimited liability for the investment itself. There is, of course, an exception. We're talking about laws in European Union. There's always exceptions, okay? So one can incorporate a sole shareholding company, but for this particular purpose, one needs to incorporate a separate legal entity. And so the investment will be made under this specific company with a sole share. In terms of corporations, if the investors decide to incorporate legal entities for their investments in Portugal, we have several different type of legal entities of companies, and for this, of course, it's required to be established a separate legal entity. Of course, this corporation will have limited liability. We'll have to, if it's not a sole shareholding company, we'll have a minimum number of shareholders, depending on the type of company the investors want to incorporate. We'll see that later on. There will be a minimum share capital, also depending on the type of entities that investors want to incorporate. Articles of association will have to be drafted, and the company name should be required as well. There's a process of choosing the name, a reference to the scope of the company, and most of the companies will have an acronym with them, which can be this. I give these two examples, but there's more. But this is the examples we are focusing more: the LDA and the SA kind of companies. So the first kind of companies is the what we call the LDA. So it's a private company, limited liability. It's again, the incorporation shall be required. There's a minimum number of shareholders, which is 2. The share capital required is also it's also a requirement, and this company may have capital contributions only, okay, for the incorporation, cash or assets. This type of companies again will have this LDA acronym, which stands for limited liability company. In terms of share capital, just a quick one. There is no great requirements. A company can be incorporated with 2 euros share capital. For the private liability companies, well, this is slightly different because this is a more complex company structure. The biggest difference is that there is a minimum of 5 shareholders required. The share capital is also, the minimum is also 50,000 euros. In terms of cash capital contributions, it's basically the same, can be either cash or assets. And these companies will have the acronym SA, which stands for Sociedade Anónima, but basically it means a public limited liability company. It's also possible, because we've been doing in our office since day one, it's also possible to incorporate branches of overseas entities, of companies that have their offices overseas. So they set up branches in Portugal. The branch itself, it's not exactly a formal entity. But requires a certain kind of registration. The liability will be in accordance with the investor legal statute as well, the mother company, and the share capital is not required for these circumstances. Also, the articles of association will be the same as the mother company, the investor, and the branch name, sorry for the typo, shall have the sentence sucursal or sucursal in Portugal, which stands for branch or Portuguese branch. In terms of incorporation procedure, I will not bother you describing all the incorporation procedure, but I can say that this is quite straightforward in Portugal. We have a very good informal manner, and the bureaucracy around this procedure is not complicated at all, and it's quite swift, let's say. Of course, there's a public registration so these entities will be subject to public registration, where the information about the company will be available to the public in general. There is, of course, again, exceptions if there's a public, an SA company, a public limited liability company. The amount of information you have on the shareholding, it's quite limited. It's an anonymous incorporation. So the information will not be there. The information will be there on the registration just regarding the head office, the scope, the share capital, and a few other information like the company number or the tax number. One good thing is that we have completely the procedure is also completely paperless. Okay, so everything can be done online, and also the company certificates can be applied online. And there is no original of the company certificates. The online platform the country developed basically grants a specific code, and this code will give you access, the third parties and the shareholders and the directors access to the company information through this online platform the company has. So every time the certificate, the company certificate is needed, what we need to provide is a certificate code. And people can access the company information online through the official platform. Sometimes dealing with foreign jurisdictions, people tend to get suspicious on this system. But let me tell you, this is a very good approach and a very modern, fast, and swift way to access and to validate company information without stamps, apostilles, and so on. You can do it. You can access in Asia. You can access in the US, in Africa, North, South, East, West. You can access through an online platform, and you'll make sure the information is correct, is valid, and it's binding for the company. Also, the amendments to the Articles of Association after the company is established, is created, and changes to company structures are subject to update and subject to registration once again. Also subject to certain fees, but I would say these fees are nominal from an investment perspective. Well, I think I covered the most important part of company incorporation, and I leave the floor because it's been a while already. Thank you very much again for the invitation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Oscar Madureira, for explaining to our public the legal aspects about setting up a company in Portugal. I would like to thank once more our guest speakers for accepting our invitation and for taking some time out their busy schedule to join this webinar. Thank you very much for sharing your knowledge and experience in investing in Portugal with our guests. Unfortunately, we won't have time for questions, but I would like to say that this webinar will continue available on demand with the same registration link. I'm also sharing the contacts of ICEP in Macau on screen. For those who want to address any questions to us via email, we will answer all of them as soon as possible and also share the presentations. I'm sure that after these presentations, you are convinced that Portugal is definitely a worth investing country. Thank you very much for your presence and attention. Thank you.
Portugal is a very beautiful and peaceful country with a very stable economic and political situation.
A country with huge potential, huge opportunities. We have a very dedicated workforce, highly trained.
Portugal has a lot of good engineering schools all over the country, and the competition is quite low compared with other countries in Europe.
Portugal has a lot of very good universities. We have a lot of good people aiming for new technologies, new challenges, new products, and the breakthrough of industry.
We came here in Portugal because of the dynamic of the market. As I mentioned, we have hired 800 engineers in less than 3 years. It really shows how dynamic is the market, how entrepreneurial is the environment, and that was really important to build our IT center.
When we recruited lately all these engineers, we were capable of setting up a team of 15 nationalities, all recruited in Portugal. And obviously, the majority of them were Portuguese, but there were a lot of foreigners already living in Portugal due to the amazing quality of life that you have here in the country.
The other reason why we came here, it was because of the international mindset. We are covering operation on 38 countries. And it was important to have people who do have that international mindset, but also who do speak English and other foreign language. And we found that here in Portugal.
The Portuguese people are not only friendly, but they're great linguists. And that, in today's world, is very important, the ability to be able to communicate directly with visitors that are coming from all corners of the planet to discover the beautiful and safe country of Portugal.
We have the people, the know-how, and the willingness to learn.
There's a massive pool of talent for people that on the positions that we want to fill. So this makes it basically a no-brainer of investing in Portugal at this moment. So if you're considering, for us the experience was great. So think about it. It might be a very good opportunity.